So hi everyone, my name is Divine. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen just for a quick second. Um, so I'm just gonna say just a quick introduction, a little bit about me. Is that I graduated from University of Maryland, College Park, in 2023 with a bachelor's in biology and a bachelor's in sociology. I've been doing professional makeup on others for about 2 years now, and but I've been doing makeup for long before that. I started doing makeup on myself for fun, then I started doing it on family, then I started to do it on friends and other people as well. So as Joey said, this is going to be like a makeup tutorial. I'm going to be using my model here. I'm going to go step by step on how I would do her makeup and really explain each step and hopefully give some tips and tricks to kind of make it a little bit easier on your end. So this is going to be a very in-depth tutorial, but you can pick and choose which parts that you want to incorporate into your everyday makeup routine. So it's going to be a lot of stuff that I'm going to show you, and you can choose from there which techniques you like and what you would like to incorporate. So overall, here are just a few steps here, just like a big overview of all the steps that I'm going to be doing. So the first thing I would say you need to do is moisturize. You need to moisturize your face and make sure your face is very hydrated. That way the products can really get into your skin and it can blend very well. The next step I usually like to do is eyebrows, just because it helps to like, once you finish carving it out, once you do the rest of your makeup, it kind of helps to make everything more seamless. And then next after that, I put on primer. Primer is not foundation, not concealer, but it's just something that kind of helps to almost like bind the makeup, I say, to your skin and to make sure it lasts and to make sure it blends with the rest of the other products that you put on your face. And then foundation, then I put concealer and contour. These are cream products. And then after that, I'll put on setting powder to set the cream products into place so that the cream products don't move. And then I finish that off with setting spray. So that was a lot, but I'm going to do all of that step by step and kind of walk through each step. Okay, stop sharing my screen. So the first thing I said was moisturize. So that's exactly what I'm going to do on my model today. So the first thing I usually do, I have this spring water that I like to use because when your face is actually wet, it has a little bit of like water on it, it actually takes in moisture a lot more than when your skin is dry. So that's just another skincare tip. So like if you're ever washing your face or once you finish washing your face, it's recommended not to let your skin completely dry before you put on your moisturizer, because then your skin is actually getting dehydrated before you moisturize your skin. So I'm just going to spray just a little bit of water to close your eyes. Okay. And then I'm going to go in with my moisturizer here on skin. I'll go in with this moisturizer. And I'm going to place this on your face and you can blend in the rest of your hands. Okay. I'm not doing too much because she did come in already moisturized, which is great. So just make sure your skin is very moisturized. It should be, you should feel very hydrated. You don't want to apply makeup on dry skin because that's when it starts to get a little bit patchy. If you've ever seen your makeup be a little bit patchy, a little bit dry, those dry patches, that comes from lack of hydration. So you want to make sure your skin is hydrated. And once your skin is hydrated, I like to go in straight with my eyebrows. So I'm going to show you two different ways to do your eyebrows. This first way is very simple. The second way is going to be a little bit more advanced, but I'm going to give you a little bit of tricks to kind of make it a little bit easier. So the first way is with the eyebrow stencil. I literally got these on Amazon. They come in like packs of like 100, like there's like 100 different shapes. So you can find a shape that kind of matches your eyebrow as much as possible. And it works pretty well. So if you find the correct shape, and I found the shape that matches her eyebrow, I'm gonna do one eyebrow with this first technique, and then I'm gonna do the other eyebrow with the second technique. And they usually come with a stamp. Um, this is just a brown colored stamp that matches the skin tone, matches the tone of her eyebrow hairs. So what you want to do is place the eyebrow stencil exactly where the brow starts. So I placed it exactly where it starts and ends. And what I'm going to do is press the stamp all throughout. So since it's a stencil, you can kind of be a little bit messy with it. It kind of shapes it for you. But what you want to make sure you're doing is maybe you want to have light pressure the entire time, but the lightest pressure, you want it to be closest to your eyebrow. You don't want to have a lot of pressure here, because then because your eye naturally, if you look at your eyebrows, it's more sparse in the beginning and it's more fuller usually at the end. That's how it usually is. So what you want to do is put the most pressure towards the end, but you don't need that much pressure entirely, but put the most pressure towards the end, and then ease up your pressure as you get towards the start of your eye. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. Just going to make sure again that this is exactly shaped. And I'm going to, and depending on the density of your eyebrow hairs, you may need less or more. So her eyebrows are very thick, but if your eyebrows are not as thick, then you might need to apply more pressure. But since her eyebrows are already dense, I'm not going to apply that much pressure because I don't want her eyebrows to be super duper dark. So you can get a little bit closer just so they can kind of see that brow. We just like peek up a little bit. So if you can see, it kind of shaped her brow pretty nicely. It did like the starting work for us. And that really took, I didn't have to like shape anything. I just aligned the stencil to her eyebrow on the right eyebrow shape and put more pressure towards the ends and then put less pressure towards the beginning of her eyebrow. So that's how you get that general shape. And now what we want to do is carve the eyebrow. So basically you want to carve the underneath and on top of the eyebrow with a concealer shade so that the actual eyebrow pops a bit more. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a very flat brush to do that. I'm going to literally carve the underneath and carve on top. But the key to this step is getting a very flat brush. I mean, this brush looks like a painting brush. You can see how thin and flat it is because you want it to be flat so that you can press it easy and it glides easy on the skin. And for this part, you're going to want to use a concealer shade. You're going to want to use a concealer, not a foundation, because concealer is made to cover up mistakes. Foundation, yes, is made to cover up mistakes, but concealer is more full coverage there. So I'm going to go for a concealer shade that's maybe like one or 1.5 shades lighter than her skin tone. I don't want anything that's too bright, because if I make it too bright, then it kind of looks, that's when you kind of get that little like maybe, it's a little bit extreme. It's a little bit too extreme. And even if you blend it out, it won't be very nice. So I'm going to go in with this shade here. I'm just going to take a little bit of concealer and put it on my hand. Okay, so I mixed 2 colors here to make the right shade. And I'm gonna take this and you don't want too much product on the brush just because you really want to be able to have control of the makeup. When you have too much product, if you think, you can think of it like a paintbrush. If you have too much paint on your paintbrush, you won't really be able to have control. So I'm just taking the product and putting it on my hand and really flattening out the brush to make sure it's flat. And I'm going to carve the top of her brow and then carve the bottom of her brow. I can show them that close up really quick. So you can kind of see how there's concealer underneath and on top. I haven't blended it out yet, but that's how it looks right now. So what I'm gonna do now is take a brush and just blend out the concealer so there's no harsh lines. As you saw when she looked close, it looks like a brow and then concealer and then like a bright concealer and then a bright concealer on top. We don't want that. We want everything to be blended out seamlessly. So I'm gonna take a brush and go ahead and blend this out the best that I can. And this is part of the reason why I like to do my eyebrows first, because you blend this out and then once you put your foundation and your concealer, that even helps for this to be even more seamless so that there's no harsh lines. And then also because we moisturized her face, it's easy to blend out. There's no difficulty here. And one thing I will point out is as I'm doing this, I'm pulling her skin taut when I need to. Um, this helps to get, this helps to create more tension so you have an even playing field. Also, if anybody has any questions, you can always unmute yourself and just say the questions. It's kind of a little bit difficult to read the chat. So I'm just gonna go in and continue to blend. Again, removing every line. So you can go a little bit closer so they can see. So now I've removed all the harsh lines by blending out the concealer. And now you can see that her brow is a lot more defined than it was before. So that's the technique there. So what we did here, just a quick recap, we used the stencil to make the general shape. That was didn't really take any like carving or anything. And then after that, we used a very flat brush to carve out the bottom and then carve out the top of her brow to fix any mistakes. That's the thing. You can make mistakes when you're like shaping your when you're applying when you're doing the actual you're filling in your actual eyebrow. When you add the concealer and shape it out, it kind of removes any mistake that you could have made. So that's the first way. I think that's the more simple way, that the easiest way you can do your eyebrows. And then her other eyebrow, I'm going to do another way. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly so I can show something here. Okay, so this is the second technique I'm going to show you. And this is kind of simplified brow mapping. So with eyebrows, your eyebrow actually starts from the bridge of your nose here in this picture with the white background. You can see the line number 1. It begins from the bridge of your nose. If I take this string here, the bridge of your nose, and if you extend up to your eyebrow, that's actually where it starts. And then the arch of your eyebrow, you still take from the bridge of your nose, but you just go towards your arch, and that's where your arch should be. And then if you keep extending that line, that's where the end of your eyebrow should be. So sometimes you might, either with an eyebrow pencil or you can use this string, you can mark out those spots to see where your eyebrow begins, where your arch should be, and where it should end. And then if you follow along those markings, then you can just kind of easily fill in your eyebrows. And then this picture to your left, my right, but your left, the white circles just show where I would have used concealer to carve out that shape. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use that technique for the other eyebrow. So I'm going to line up the string with the bridge of her nose, and I can see that's where her eyebrow starts. I'm going to make a little mark there. And then I'm going to line this up to the arch, and I can see that's where her arch should be. I'm going to make a little line there. And I'm going to continue that over here, make a little line where it should end. So she has 3 marks on her eyebrow right now. And what I'm going to do is just take an eyebrow pencil. I'm just going to take an eyebrow pencil and kind of follow those marks. And this technique is the one where you're going to be using a lot of your concealer to fix any mistakes because it's very free. So what I do is carve out the top, and then I draw a line from the top on the top brow, and then I draw a line on the bottom of the brow, and then I fill in that. And again, you want to fill in the ends of the brow lighter than you fill in the beginning of your brow. So the ends, I'm going to fill in with a little bit more pressure here. And then once I get to the beginning of the brow, I'm going to be way more sparse. So after I do that, I'm going to do the same thing that I did in the step before. I'm going to take my flat brush, put some concealer on it, and carve out her eyebrow. Okay, now I'm going to again blend this out to take away any harsh lines here. Just blending to take away any harsh lines. And I'm pulling her skin taut as needed so that I can get under every crevice. Um, And so that I can have a very flat surface to work on. All right, you can show them your eyebrows a little bit closer. You can see that her eyebrows are a lot more defined, and there are no harsh lines. And even if there are a little bit of harsh lines right now, that's why we do our eyebrows first, and we're gonna go in with the foundation, and the foundation is gonna make sure that everything is seamless. So before we put on foundation, foundation is the next step. We want to put on primer. Primer is going to help your foundation and your makeup really stick to your face. So the primer that I use is the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer. It's very tacky, it's very sticky. So it kind of helps for the makeup to really stick and adhere to your face and make sure it doesn't move. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to put some primer on. You can just blend that out with your hands. And she can definitely feel the sticky consistency there as she's blending it out. And then I'm going to go in with foundation. So foundation is a very important, the main thing with foundation is making sure you have the right shade. Um, so when I match my foundation shades, I like to match my foundation shades to my neck. Just because since you're putting foundation all over your face, if you have the wrong foundation shade on your if your foundation shade doesn't match your neck, then your face and your neck tend to look like two different colors. Um, so you want to always make sure that you're matching your foundation shade to your neck since you're putting it all over your face. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to match her foundation shade to her neck. And remember that you can always mix some shades. If you don't have the perfect shade, you can maybe mix one or two shades to get the perfect shade. So I want to see if this foundation shade that I've made is a good match. Go a little bit. And so even if like there's a little bit of shade differences between your face and your neck, you also have to remember you're going to be putting on concealer, you're going to be putting on bronzer that adds different shades as well. So the shade per se that you have when you put on your foundation shade, it's not going to be that particular shade because you're putting on the concealer, you're putting on the contour as well and the bronzer. So and this what that's good. So also, when I put on my foundation, I like to focus, if I'm if I know I'm gonna be putting on concealer that day, I like to focus more on the lower half of my face, just because I'm going to be putting the concealer under my eyes and in those spots. So I don't need to put foundation on the spots where I already know I'm gonna be putting concealer. So I focus to put foundation on the spots where I'm not putting concealer. And I'm just going to go ahead and blend this out with a big buffer brush. And I'm going to blend it into her neck to make sure everything is matching. And remember, foundation is very buildable, so you can put on more and more as needed, but you want to start off with less and build with more rather than putting on a ton of foundation and you realize, oh, that's way too much. So I like to build, meaning I start small and then add more as needed. So I make sure I never have too much. And I also don't put too much foundation on the forehead or the nose, just because I'm gonna be putting a lot of concealer again on the forehead and your nose. And your forehead is not very big, so it's not very big, so the concealer and the contour really do take up a lot of the forehead space. And you can see as we're doing this, the eyebrows also become any harsh lines. All the harsh lines are kind of disappearing as you're adding the foundation. So the next step after foundation is concealer and contour, but I'm going to share my screen so that we can show exactly the placement of the concealer and contour. Okay, so these are two images here that kind of show the placement of where your concealer and contour should be. Um, so your concealer is gonna be a brightening shade. This is gonna be a shade that's maybe 1 or 2 shades lighter than your actual skin tone. You don't want it to be too bright, but you do want it to be a little bit brighter than your foundation shade. And this is because this is where the light naturally like hits your face. That's gonna be your forehead right here, this area right here, underneath your eyes, right there, and then the bridge of your nose right there. Those are the places that you want to bring out, make more bright. And then contour is going to be the places that it's going to be a darker shade that's going to be like 3 shades darker than your foundation. And you're going to want to put that in the places you want to bring in. So if you're bringing, so a lot of times we put contour right under our cheekbones to bring underneath of our cheekbones in so that on top of your cheekbones come out, if that makes sense. So contour you put where you want things to go in, and highlight is where you want to highlight on your face. So that's why you can see you put concealer, the concealer shade that's 2 to 3, no, sorry, 1.5 to 2 shades brighter than your foundation shade underneath your eyes, your forehead and the bridge, and then contour, you're going to put it underneath your jaw. It helps to shape your face. That's the main thing it helps to do. It helps to shape and bring definition to your face. This is a very important step to me because it helps to, again, shape my face. So I'm going to show how I do that on my model here, but this is just an overall idea of what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to take a concealer shade that's going to be 1 to 2 shades lighter than her skin tone. What I'm going to do is mix a few shades here. And I'm going to place it underneath her eyes here, bridge of her nose. Here, here. Okay, so those are the areas that I place concealer. Because you maybe come a little closer so they can see. So the areas that I place concealer are underneath of her eyes there, underneath of her eyes, her forehead here, and then the bridge, and then her chin. So what I usually do is I'm gonna blend out underneath her eyes. I'm gonna blend out underneath her eyes. I'm gonna blend out her forehead. I'm gonna leave the bridge of her nose until I finish, until I until a little bit later. So I'm going to use a brush to really press in the product into her face. And I'm gonna go straight out. You can see that I'm going straight out like this. It kind of, when you go straight out with, when you blend concentrated straight up with your concealer, it brings a lifting to your face that kind of helps it helps your eyes and your whole face. It kind of helps to lift it up a bit. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna concentrate it and make sure I'm not dragging her face down. So I'm gonna make sure I'm lifting this here. And for concealer, you don't want to go past your cheekbones. Concealer should be at your cheekbones and up. I'm gonna blend a little bit into the side of her nose here. I'm gonna blend right here, upper lip. I'm gonna do the same on this side. Again, I am pressing into every crevice. So this is one of the most important steps to make sure everything is blended correctly. So you're gonna see me go in and blend a few times. So that was my first time blending. I just wanted to like make sure all the product was spread in the right places. So now I'm gonna go in with the beauty blender and I'm gonna go in and press and make sure everything is where exactly I want it to be. Okay, that was that. And then now I'm just gonna go in with this flat brush just to blend out the edges because I don't want any harsh lines. Just blending out the edges here. Don't want any harsh lines. Okay. So notice that I did keep the contour on the bridge of her nose. I haven't blended that part out yet. Um, and the next thing I'm going to do is, sorry about the noise there. But the next thing I'm going to do is blend, I'm going to add her contour. So for contour, just like the picture, add it to your forehead here. And you want to be light-handed with contour because contour is a darker shade than your skin tone. So you want to make sure that you're light-handed. A little bit goes a long way with contour. You won't need as much contour as you do concealer. But I'm going to go along her forehead. I'm going to go right underneath her cheekbones. A nice trick for this is if you make your mouth almost like a fish, like you see that line where when you make your mouth like a fish and you do this, you kind of continue up that line. So that's what I'm going to do. Just like that. Same on this side, just like that. It kind of reveals your cheekbones a little bit more. And then that's for the cheekbones. And I'm also going to contour underneath her jawline. And this is going to define her jawline a little bit more. So I'm going to contour right underneath there. Put some contour right underneath there. You can also, she doesn't need it, but you can also contour right underneath your chin here to like kind of hide right here and really define your chin. So you can define your whole entire jawline by putting contour where you think is needed. So I usually contour underneath my jawline right here. It'll bring out my jawline because I'm putting underneath of my jawline in with the dark contour. I also, sometimes I can put the contour right here. That will bring underneath of my chin in, so it will bring out my chin. So that's just the idea. So I contoured underneath her jawline and on her cheekbones. So what I'm gonna do is just take my beauty blender, the same beauty blender that I used before. Oh, almost forgot. Um, you're also gonna wanna contour your nose. So you're gonna wanna contour the bridge of your nose. That just makes the appearance of a thinner nose. So what I did was contoured the sides of the bridge of her nose. And then the highlighted concealer is right in the middle. So it's to the contour right here, contour right there, and the highlight with the concealer is right in the middle. And I haven't blended that highlight out yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and blend out everything else. And when you're blending your contour, you wanna blend into your hairline at the top. I'm blending backwards into the hairline for the contour. And then for her cheekbones, I'm going to blend upwards. I'm going to blend upwards. I'm gonna bring it down just a little bit more because I made sure not to place the contour. You don't place contour all the way to your lip. Place it about halfway, maybe to like a little bit past the start of your eye. You're gonna place it about halfway. But when you're blending it out, it's gonna blend a little bit further down. That's especially why you don't want to put it too far down. And when I'm closest to her hairline, I am gonna blend into her hairline. Like that. And then for her jawline, I'm going to blend upwards. And remember, you can always hold your skin taut to get a better blend. I'm gonna hold her skin taut just so I get a better blend there. I'm doing the same thing on the other side. I'm blending her cheekbones up and into her hairline. Blend this upwards as well. Okay, so now all I have left is her nose. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna blend her concealer out first, but I didn't blend the concealer on her nose out for a reason, because when you leave concealer on for a longer period of time, it dries just like everything else. It's gonna dry up a little bit. And it's gonna keep when it's dried, it doesn't blend as easily, so it keeps everything in place. So for the concealer on her nose, I want to make sure that it's in a particular spot. If you remember from the picture, the concealer on her nose is literally just on the bridge right there. I want to make sure when I'm blending it is in that exact same spot. So that's why I let it dry down a little bit, so it's not going to move when I blend it. And for the contour, you want to also make sure that you are blending that in place. You don't really want, you can do a slight upward motion, but you don't really want anything to be brought out of place here. And you want to go in just a bit more concealer here. Okay, so at this point, we are just about done with the cream products. So you can just make sure, because now the next step is just to set the powder. Set the cream product with powder. You've already added all of your cream products. So um so at this point, you want to just make sure like everything is right before you set it with powder. You want to make sure that everything is in the right place before you set it with powder. I'm just gonna look over here, just gonna look everywhere, and I think that it is just okay. And what I'm gonna do now is set with powder. So the powder I'm gonna use is a translucent powder. This is a white toned powder. It's translucent, so it works on pretty much all skin tones, even though it's white, because it's supposed to be translucent color. So what I like to do is take the powder, put it maybe on my hand a little bit. I have a powder puff sponge. You could also use a beauty blender, and I just dab a little bit to make sure it's evenly coated on the spot on the powder puff. So what I'm going to do is place the powder where I place the concealer. I'm placing this translucent powder where I place the concealer. And I'm going to be very light here. And I'm going to press. You really want to press the powder into your skin. I'm going to go ahead and do the same on this side, pressing the powder into her skin. Take a little bit more here. Everywhere I put concealer, I am pressing this powder. Everywhere I put concealer, pressing the powder. And that's gonna make the cream product, it's not gonna move anymore. Um, so sometimes I think that it's easy to get confused with the powder and cream products. Remember that you put the cream products first and then you put the powder products afterwards. And then, so I put the powdered product, I put the translucent powder product on her concealer, but for the contour, I'm going to take a bronzer shade. This is going to be, again, similar to your contour, about 2 to 3 shades darker than your skin tone. And I'm going to take this shade and use this to set, the contour that I put. So everywhere I put the contour, I'm going to put this. Okay, so I've done that there. And this is where you can add powdered blush if you like. Could just add a little bit of powdered blush here. And I place my powdered blush right in between my concealer and contour, right in between. And I like to be very light-handed with my blush. Between that concealer and contour. And now I like to do just, this is we're pretty much done, but you can just do any finishing touches. I'm gonna just blend out underneath her eyebrows just a bit more. And I'm going to go in with just sometimes if you don't want to do like for eyeshadow, sometimes if you something that's very, very simple that always looks good every time, you can use the same shade that you use for your bronzer and just put it on your lids. The same shade that you use for your bronzer will look actually very nice on your eyes. It looks very natural. So I'm going in with that very similar shade to her bronzer shade, and I'm going to just lightly go through here. Reaching up to her brows just a little bit. Okay. So, and then you just go in with last touches. Something I like to do is use something called the Sephora Micro Smooth. This kind of just make the Sephora Micro Smooth. It just you get it in your skin tone, in your skin color. You get a big brush like this, and you kind of just go over anywhere that there might be any harsh lines. It takes away every harsh line and kind of makes everything blend very nicely. So I'm putting this where the concealer meets the contour. Putting that in those places just so I make sure everything blends nicely. And then you can set your foundation with the pressed powder if you'd like as well. I'm just gonna go ahead and do that on her. Set the foundation, which means underneath the contour. Okay. So at this point, we are all done. And the last step that you always want to do is take what we call setting spray and spray your face. The setting spray just makes sure that all the powders kind of melt into the skin and so you don't look very powdery, because no one wants to walk around looking very powdery because we put all these powders on our face. We want everything to be melted and seamless and very natural. So I take this spray and also close her eyes. I'm just gonna spray all over. There we go. And then just kind of fan that out. Let that dry. But overall, that is the end of my lesson here. I hope that you were able to take out anything that you could here. So I'm gonna just ask her to go a little bit closer to the camera so that she can see, so that everybody can see. This is very natural. It's not heavy. You see that her eyebrows are very defined. We used the two different techniques and everything seems very blended and seamless. Nothing is heavy and it's very natural. You can wear this as your daily routine. You can take things out and make it your own. So that is all for my tutorial. I will hand it over back to Joey.
Thank you very much. Elaine, do you have any questions? Let me just a minute. You're muted. So.
Okay, can you hear that now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I just wondered, Divine, how long does it take you to do, routine once you get all the steps down and you're a little bit practiced at it? Because it seems like a really long time, but you had so many steps.
Yeah, so honestly, it depends on if it's like, if I'm doing a full face, this is more of a very full face. Then this could take me like 40 minutes, but like day to day, I might take out some parts. Like I might just use powdered bronzer and not use the cream contour. So I might just use powdered bronzer and not do the cream contour. But it takes me like 20 minutes, 30 minutes maximum when I'm doing like my light daily routine.
Yeah. Right, because I as beautiful as it turned out, I just can't see myself doing all that.
Yeah, exactly. So I would definitely suggest like picking things out, like the eyebrow stencil. That's really good to have nice eyebrows. Like today, I use a very small amount of makeup. I just did my eyebrows. I think that eyebrows are very important. It helps to kind of shape your entire face. So this was a more in-depth tutorial so you can choose what little things that you'd like. So I would say for an everyday makeup, maybe your eyebrows, concealer and setting powder, and then maybe just some bronzer. Bronzer is the brown, the
dark
brown powder that we used.
Yeah. So I have two more questions. Where, say, like in a drugstore where they sell makeup, where would you find concealer? Is that like with foundation?
Yeah, it's gonna be near the foundations shades. It's gonna be near the foundations. So you can, and I know that Target also has like an Ulta, like now Target has to have like an Ulta Beauty area in their area. So they have a lot more makeup options. But yeah, in the drugstore and like even at like Walmart, CVS, it'll be right around the foundations.
Okay. And I had another question, but I forgot it already.
If it comes back to you.
Okay. Oh, yes, this is it. I noticed you didn't do any like eyeliner or mascara. Would you just add that after
Yes,
the face
yes,
is done?
I would have added that, but for the sake of time, I didn't. So for mascara, um, depending on the density or the strength of your lashes, you can curl them. It kind of, it helps to elongate it because if you think about your lashes kind of point outwards. So then it kind of doesn't show the length as much, but if it curls upwards, like it's kind of exposing that length. So you can curl your eyelashes first with the eyelash curler. Yeah, I can go ahead and do that for her. Just put your eye up, like open your eye. There we go. So I'm just gonna curl her eyelash. Just gotta be careful here. Okay, so you can even see here that her eyelash is a lot. It looks longer. It looks longer than it was before. And then I just take a mascara. I like this one. This one's at the drugstore as well. It's called L'Oreal Paris Telescopic Lift. I think this really lifts your lashes as you're doing it. But my technique for applying mascara is to first, a lot of times it comes like with a lot of product on there. So you kind of like want to wipe away some of the product on the edge just because you don't want your eyelashes to be clumpy. That will make it very clumpy. So I wipe away any excess product. And then I kind of just, so if you look at this kind of has the spikes and I align the spikes with the eyelash and I kind of shimmy it up.
Mhm.
Okay.
And do you put
So
any
yeah.
on the lower lashes?
Yes, you can also put some on the lower lashes as well. Just got to be just a bit more careful with the lower lashes because they tend to be a lot less dense. So sometimes it can be easy to like get it on your skin, kind of mess up the concealer that you already did. So I would just suggest just try to have a very careful hand with your lower lash, but you can put them on your lashes as well.
Looks
Some people
beautiful.
say that's a little optional, but just whatever you like.
Right. Looks great.
Yeah, I'm glad that you found this tutorial helpful.
Now your model has to go out on a hot date.
I'll call your other one.
Well, thank you, Divine. Thank you,
Thank you.
Elaine. I do have one question in the chat saying someone asked, do you make house calls?
Yeah, I actually am starting to do a lot of some house calls and like complimentary makeup as well. So we can work out the prices of that. I can put my email in the chat if that helps.
Certainly, I will send that out to her. So,
Yeah.
all right.
I have a form that I have my clients fill out.
Okay. Well, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.